When I moved to Atlanta, Georgia 16 years ago, I first started out with Sproul Art Center in the ceramics department. I have a degree in art and sculpture and art education from Indiana University, and I've worked in many different things throughout my life as I've been a teacher and executive director of an art center. After 12 years of working in just clay, I'd hit a roadblock. I decided I needed to switch my materials. I found that the clay was just not letting me go big enough or move me forward in directions I wanted to go. So I took a year off with making absolutely nothing, and I just observed. I observed art of all kind. And during that time, I gave myself permission to just enjoy the experimenting and permission to fail. I was in San Francisco, and I went to a museum and I saw a most amazing encaustic wax painting, and it really changed my ideas of what encaustic wax could be. A sculptor named Miles Conrad in Tucson, Arizona, and I contacted him, and to my delight he was happy to give me a 1-week class in his studio. We started with the basics. He showed me how to safely work with the encaustic wax, what materials I needed, how to have my studio set up so that it would not be a toxic material in my studio. And in the end, I took my first forms and we learned to build up wax on those forms. After working with that and bringing that form home, I set it down and I realized it needed something else to it. And I went into my studio, which is chock-a-block with all kinds of materials that I saved. And I happened to have, from back in the 1990s when I was taking a basket weaving class, I had some rattan reed that I'd stored away. So I soaked it and I shaped it and I painted it, and I suddenly remembered how much fun it was to work with rattan reed. And I pulled out some more and bought some more and soaked it, and away I went with it. Miles and I had not worked with the reed in his studio. We worked with all kinds of other materials. So the reed is something completely that I discovered for myself on my own. My forms are not woven, they are constructed. I have come up with a way of construction that makes them very strong and sturdy. I make sketches almost every day of forms, and I evaluate very similarly to the way I did in clay, where I would make a sketch and then I would go back in an architectural way and break down the form and decide how that could feasibly be made. My finished result are often very similar to my sketches. However, I do let the material kind of bump me off course. And that's just what happened to me on a trip to Canada. I was roaming the Art Gallery of Ontario and came across an amazing exhibition of model ships. More than half of them were built by French POWs, and they had very little materials to work with. They used whatever they had. They had wonderful little secret doors and panels to open and show you the innards of the vessels. I saw them as the skeletons, and I thought, oh, that's an interesting way to shape and form things, and I thought about my rattan reed. On that same trip, I visited the Textile Museum of Ontario. After viewing their exhibits, I made a few purchases in their gift shop, which they cleverly wrapped in recycled dressmaker's pattern tissue, all of which I brought home. The tissue remained on my work table and called to me to use it with my sculpture.